On March 17, 2026, we had the March for Nursing for PEC 19. So, Pedro, what is this PEC 19? Why is it trending now? Yeah, why was there this march? What is it resulting in? What's the purpose of the agenda? What's going to happen? So, if you're lost on this issue, seeing movements talking about PEC 19, what's actually happening, and why this year is so important for these PEC and political agendas, you will understand all of this and much more right here. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe so you stay informed and up to date on what's happening and what you need to know, and how you can participate with your contribution as a student, as a professional, as a public servant, as an entrepreneur, and so on. Ready? First, PEC 19 of 2024 is currently being processed in the Senate, and it aims to amend the Constitution to establish the national minimum wage for nursing, which includes nurses, technicians, assistants, and midwives, based on a maximum work week of 30 hours, right? So, the main thing you need to know is that PEC 19 is meant to ensure that the minimum wage is tied to or related to a 30-hour work week. In other words, that calculation base for the nurse, the technician, the assistant, for example, should be tied to 30 hours. Back in 2022, when the minimum wage was approved, at the last minute for it to be passed, because there were several obstacles. And who works in this field? He remembers how that voting period was. They tied the minimum wage to 44 hours. In other words, if you work 30 hours or 36 hours today at a place, you receive a proportional amount to the minimum wage. So let's go. I work 36 hours as a nurse at Hospital X. If the hospital says it will pay the minimum wage, then the minimum wage is based on 44 hours. Since you work 36 hours, you will receive an amount lower than the minimum wage because you don't work 44 hours. So with all these issues, they created PEC 19, which I am reading at this moment. So, to sum up here, now that we have the salary floor approved for 44 hours, we want to link the approved salary floor to 30 hours now. Alright? So, just so we can understand these points here, the proposal also provides for a annual adjustment of the salary floor, guaranteeing at least an inflation adjustment. So, besides the fixed value of the salary floor, the amount needs to be adjusted annually according to inflation. We know that inflation in Brazil is absurd, right? So, if the salary floor is set and there's no annual adjustment, soon that pay floor will erode and become a really bad salary for our category. So, let's go. The main points of the PEC. It's a 30-hour work week that defines the applicable national salary floor, right? The maximum work week is 30 hours fighting against the current link to the 44-hour week. That's what I mentioned, right? Unlink from 44 and link to 30 hours, I'm talking about the proposal, not what we have today. So, hold on. Annual adjustment. It establishes that the salary floor should be adjusted annually, at least by the ENPC variation, INPC. Cumulative, preventing wage erosion. It seeks to correct the injustice against the profession, ensuring that the salary floor is paid for a dignified workload, impacting the physical and mental health of professionals and the quality of the SUs. The proposal had a favorable report presented by Senator Fabiano Contarato and is awaiting a vote in the CCJ, which is the Constitution, Justice and Citizenship Commission. Okay? Guys, why did it happen? Why did the march on March 17th happen? It was pressure led by the nursing councils from all over Brazil, together with COFEM, creating the march to push this agenda and bring it to a vote. Did it work? Yes, it did. The way we wanted? Let's say no. So what's going on? Guys, every time you ask for something, keep this in mind. I'm going to ask for something, but I don't know if what I'm asking for is what I'm going to get. I might get a little of what I asked for, but not everything. You asked for 30 hours going from 44 to 30 hours, and they're offering 36 hours. If it's 36 hours, we can get PEC 19 approved, so stop and think. From 30 to 44, that's 14 hours a week. From 30 to 36, that's 6 hours a week. What does that mean? From my point of view, 36 is better than 44, obviously. But let's think about the following. If they said they can put it on the agenda to vote on 36 hours rather than 30, that's bad. So, shouldn't we avoid letting them vote in 36, keep it at 44, and fight for this agenda whenever it comes up for 30 hours? What's my point of view? If we, with the pressure that was made, managed to get it down to 36, let it go, let it be approved, and then fight to reduce it from 36 to 30. Do you understand, guys? Look, you have to think. Isn't it better? Look, we achieved something, man. We're already reducing 8 hours a week. For those who work Monday to Friday, that's a whole work day. We managed to cut down one day. 8 hours, from 44 to 36. We managed to reduce 8. But anyway, we need to move forward. But a lot of people are thinking, no, it should be 30 hours, not 36. I also think it should be 30, but you're managing to go from 44, so anything below 44 is already a win. Later, you can change it again. That's my point of view. Now let's understand the situation, for God's sake. And now take out whatever is blocking your ears because you're not able to listen, okay? However, this has nothing to do with the minimum wage. It has to do with, let's say, the regulation of the profession. What do I mean by that? What is Khurram doing? What is he doing to help our profession? Do you understand? He is doing this to implement what is good for our profession. But it's not the councils that will demand the minimum wage to be paid to you, for example. Because the ones who do that are the unions. On the day of the march, we had the union and we had the nursing staff. Because here's the thing, imagine if, okay, it's the union that demands all these things. Imagine the union acting alone. Now, what if everyone joins in? See the difference? So, the councils, together with the unions, tried to do as much as they could, gather as many people as possible, make noise so something would happen, so we could get our agenda in there. But, alright, Eater, after all this is approved, who should I hold accountable? It's the unions. Man, the union. The union is about work. Khurram is our professional regulatory body. Our profession is regulated. And that's it. So, it's the workers' union that's responsible for anything related to labor issues. Not the councils. The councils are doing their part by helping to put pressure so that we get more benefits for our category. Do you get the point? Why am I saying this? I see a lot of people on social media stirring things up saying, where's the quorum to pay my minimum wage? Khurram doesn't pay the minimum wage, the union does. You're blaming the wrong person. Got it? You're blaming the wrong guy. That's the point. Got it? So guys, these were the updates we had about the PEC. Why is this year important? It's an election year, right? Who doesn't want to get re-elected? Nobody wants to be the bad guy who doesn't vote on an issue and ends up losing votes. Do you get the point? That's why now we have to be smart. Since it's an election year, we have to put these issues up for a vote so we can benefit from them. In other words, from the salary floor until now, it's been 4 years, from one election to another. So if we don't manage to get it done in this election, forget about next year. 2027, 28, 29, forget it. It'll only be in 2030 again. So guys, I don't understand politics, but things only work in election years. So in other words, these PECs, so if there's another PEC in the future for something, it'll work in an election year. So this PEC that started last year, for it to have any strength, it's going to have strength this year. So that's why it's important for you, whether you're a student or a graduated nurse already working, to participate. This is for our profession. Demand accountability from those responsible, the unions. Unions must insist on enforcing the unpaid minimum wage and other rights. And the public labor ministry is where you should go if you are a public servant and are not receiving the minimum wage. If you work for the municipality or something like that, then it's not the union, it's the Ministry of Labor and Employment that will demand action from the federal, state, or municipal agency. Got it? Not the council. The council will help organize movements for our category. Is that clear? Understood? All right. If there are any updates, I'll bring them to you here.